Hello dear students, welcome back. This is the second session on Constituent Assembly. So in this session, we will see some of the major committees of the Constituent Assembly and some of the criticisms that were leveled against the Assembly, etc. So to begin with, the Constituent Assembly was Assembly appointed a number of committees to deal with different tasks. So constitution making was not a simple, easy task. So just like you have a lot of committees when you arrange a program, you have when you have a program in the department, you have a program committee, you have a reception committee, then you have a food committee, then you have a stage committee, then you have a technical committee. The same way, when we were making the constitution, or rather the Constituent Assembly, they appointed a number of committees to deal with separate tasks. So out of this, 8 were major committees and others were minor committees. So just to give a perusal through the major committees include Union Powers Committee headed by Jawaharlal Nehru, Union Constitution Committee, Provincial Constitution Committee, and most importantly the Drafting Committee headed by B.R. Ambedkar. Then you have Advisory Committee on Fundamental Rights, Minorities and Tribal and Excluded Areas, Rules and Procedure Committee, State Committee and Steering Committee. Then you have a numerous, rather to be precise, 13 minor committees. Okay, so let's not get into the details of the minor committees, but this committee, the Drafting Committee, which was one of the 7 major committees, you have seen here that, see, Drafting Committee headed by B.R. Ambedkar is the major committee. So, okay, one of the 8, not 7 major committees. Okay, so going into the details of the Drafting Committee headed by B.R. Ambedkar. Okay, so this was the most important committee. This was set up on the 29th of August 1947, and this was the committee which prepared the most, or which tackled or dealt with the most important task of the Assembly, which was the task of preparing the draft of the new constitution. So that was the sole purpose of this committee. The committee had 7 members. Please remember the names. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar definitely was a chairman. Then you have N. Gopalaswamy Iyengar, Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, Dr. K.M. Munshi, Said Muhammad Sadullah, and N. Madhav Rao and T. Krishnamachari. So N. Madhav Rao, he was replaced by B.L. Mittar, who resigned due to ill health, and T.T. Krishnamachari was replaced. He replaced D.P. Khaitan, who died in 1948. So the Drafting Committee considered a lot of proposals from various committees. We saw that there were many other committees too. So they considered all the proposals of all these committees, and they came up with the first draft of the Constitution in February 1948. So our first draft of the Constitution was published in February 1948. Okay, the date is not important though. The people of India were now given 8 months to discuss the draft and propose amendments. So this was kept open to the public. So if the public wanted certain amendments, they may inform the committee. So after taking such public comments and suggestions, the Drafting Committee prepared a second draft. So after the second draft, you have the final draft of the Constitution being ready by the end of 1948. So B.R. Ambedkar introduced the final draft of the constitution in the assembly in 1948, end of 1948, November. So the assembly discussed over this draft for around 5 days, and then there was a first reading, and then there was a very close second reading, and after this you have the third reading of the draft, which was on the 14th of November 1949. And Dr. B.R. Ambedkar moved a motion called the constitution as settled by the assembly be passed, right? So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar now moved a motion asking or saying the constitution as settled by the assembly be passed. So after certain amendments and discussions that happened through the first and second readings, in the third reading, or at the third stage, the constitution was now passed, or as passed by the assembly, the constitution was now settled, or they decided to make that the final draft. So now the motion on the draft constitution was declared passed, and it received signatures of the members in the assembly and also president of the house. So with a whopping majority, the constituent assembly was passed by the constitution was passed by the constituent assembly, and this is the date that is mentioned in the preamble as the date on which the people of India adopted, enacted and gave to themselves the constitution. So which is the date? That was 26th of November 1949. So we adopted, enacted and gave to ourselves the constitution on 26th of November 1949. So this date is important. Forget all other dates, but this date is important because this was the date on which we adopted the constitution, and this date is mentioned in the preamble as well. Okay, so we adopted it on the 26th of November 1949. It had 395 articles and 8 schedules. So this number is very high today because after that we have made a lot of amendments or changes to the constitution, and the number of articles and schedules all have gone high today. We will see that in the later chapters. Okay, now the preamble, which was actually kind of an introduction to the entire constitution, was interestingly enacted after the entire constitution was enacted. So preamble comes later. Okay. Okay, so now Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, as you are already aware, he is called the father of the Constitution of India, and maybe he is called the chief architect of the Constitution. Okay, so now coming to the enforcement of the Constitution. See, major part of the constitution came into force on 26th of January 1950. I'm so sorry, 26th of January 1950. So this day is referred to as the date of commencement of the constitution, and this is the day that we celebrate as our Republic Day. So our constitution was adopted on the 26th of November 1949, but the constitution, or the date of commencement of the constitution, or the date on which the constitution came into force, was on the 26th of January 1950, and this is the Republic Day. So there was a reason why we chose this particular day, 26th of January, as the date of commencement of this newly framed constitution. This reason has a historical importance because it was on this day, on 26th of January 1930, that the Purna Swaraj Day was celebrated following the Lahore session following the resolution of the Lahore session of the Indian National Congress. So the Indian National Congress had decided in its 1930 Lahore session to celebrate 26th January 1930 as a Purna Swaraj Day. Okay, so to honor this day, we later on decided to enact or to bring into force the constitution on this day. Okay, so that is the significance of this day, of this date rather. So now, with the commencement of the constitution, the Indian Independence Act and the Government of India Act of 1935, with all enactments or supplementing later act, were all repealed. Why? Because now you have a fully functional constitution in place. So till the constitution was fully functional, you had the Indian Independence Act and the Government of India Act of 1935 functioning as a basic law of the land. But today now we have an independent sovereign constitution, so we repealed those two acts. Now coming to the criticism of the Constituent Assembly. So as usual, the Constituent Assembly also faced a lot of criticism. Number one was it was criticized for not being a fully representative body. So critics argued that this assembly was not a fully representative body because the members were not directly elected by the people on the basis of universal adult franchise. As we had already seen, the members were elected. Yes, they were elected, but they were not elected directly by the people based on universal adult franchise. Because you know that only very few people had franchise or voting rights those days, and the rest of the members were nominated by the nominated from the princely states by the head of the princely state. Second criticism is that this was not a sovereign body. They say this is or they argued this was not a sovereign body because this was created by the proposals of the British government. Further they said that the assembly held its sessions with the permission of the British government. The third criticism is that this was a time-consuming affair. The whole process of making the constitution was too time-consuming because according to the critics, the Constituent Assembly took unduly long time to make the constitution. And they stated that the framers of the American Constitution took only 4 months to complete their work. Now, the next criticism is that this was dominated by the Congress, because the critics charged that the Constituent Assembly was dominated by the Congress party. So, Granville Austin, a British constitutional expert, even remarked that the Constituent Assembly was a one-party body in an essentially one-party country. So that was obvious because Congress was an umbrella party, and that led the freedom movement. So it was expected that Congress will have a dominance in the Constituent Assembly. The next criticism is lawyer-politician domination. See, this was maintained. It was also maintained by the critics that the Constituent Assembly was dominated by lawyers and politicians. That's true to an extent. They pointed out that other sections of the society were not sufficiently represented. Most of the members of the Constituent Assembly, or majority of them, they are right, they were lawyers and politicians. And that is one of the reasons why the constitution turned out to be a very bulky document in a very complicated language, because that is a peculiar tendency of the lawyers to keep things a little bulky, and whatever they say or they frame it in a very complicated language which a layman may find difficult to comprehend. So that you can understand from the kind of if you read some of the laws passed by the parliament, if you see the original text, a normal person will not be able to make much sense out of it, because the language is like that. So that apply to the Constituent Assembly as well, that's true. Then the next criticism is that this was a body dominated by the Hindus. The Constituent Assembly was a Hindu dominated body, as the critics say. They even called it, or Winston Churchill rather commented that the Constituent Assembly represented only one major community in India. Okay, then there are certain facts that you may just go through it. Since the video will become quite lengthy if I take up that, I'm stopping here. Okay, so thank you.